What does it mean to be a neutral nation? When you're trading with the Allies, are you truly neutral? And if you are you subject to unrestricted submarine warfare that the Germans are unleashing on the open seas? 2, what do you owe to your citizens who might be traveling abroad? When the Lusitania is sunk, over 120 Americans die. However, the US government never really sent out a warning about the submarine warfare that they might be at risk, even though the German embassy had done the same at the time. And if you go into our collections, you see many Americans, one, mad at the German military for sinking the ship, but also mad at the American government for not taking a stronger stand on warning Americans about traveling abroad. And I think the third aspect of it that's compelling is that, as it turns out, there were munitions in the belly of the Lusitania headed for the Allies. So was it purely a civilian ship, or was it actually a ship that happened to be carrying civilians but also arms to your enemy? And in that case, what is its legal definition as a purveyor of peoples or a purveyor of weapons or both? And what does the US military, or excuse me, the US government owe its citizens in that regard, or the international community in that sense? So the Lusitania is probably the most famous example. Here you see the headlines about it regarding, it was truly a tragedy for those people on board, but again, it does raise questions about what it means to be a neutral power when there's this global war kind of raging in Europe and Africa and on the seas. What you have here is an animated, roughly 4.5-minute take on the sinking of the Lusitania. Now, it's worth noting that during World War I, film is in a, primitive is probably not the right word because they'd already been making films earlier in this period. It is worth noting, however, that Hollywood is not the center of the film industry. World War I does help facilitate that growth during and afterwards because the European film industries kind of collapsed as a result of the war. However, film was much more primitive in this period. So in some of the, we have provided pieces of recorded film from that era, from the John, today Janice Allen collection, so that we could demonstrate what the war looked like, what people looked like in that moment in this film. But also, it's worth remembering that there was no one at the Lusitania to film it as it sank, so we don't really know what it looked like, but this animated short provides us with at least some kind of way to wrap our heads around that disaster.